Beneath the facade of 1961, what was hidden from the world? Who was Daniel Ellsberg, an economist entangled in the webs of power? In his possession, a revelation of chilling proportions, the toll of a cataclysmic strike. Whose hands crafted this potential devastation? Step into the enigma as we unveil secrets, expose conspiracies, and navigate a battle where truth dances on the edge of darkness. In 1961, Daniel Ellsberg, an American economist, encountered a document with profound and devastating implications. During that period, Ellsberg was offering advisory services to the US government regarding its undisclosed strategies concerning nuclear warfare. Within the document he stumbled upon, there was an authoritative estimation of the potential human casualties resulting from a preemptive first strike on China and the Soviet Union. The estimate suggested that the death toll might amount to 300 million individuals in these countries, with the global casualties doubling that figure. Within the confines of that document lay a chilling revelation, an official projection of the potential death toll that could result from an aggressive and preemptive first strike on both China and the Soviet Union. The numbers were nothing short of staggering. An estimated 300 million lives at stake within those two nations alone, and an even more harrowing projection of double that number on a global scale. The gravity of this information struck Ellsberg with immense force. The implications of such devastation were beyond comprehension, reaching far beyond the borders of the targeted countries. The document painted a grim picture of the potential consequences, hinting at a worldwide catastrophe that could change the course of humanity irreversibly. As Ellsberg grappled with the weight of his discovery, he faced a moral dilemma of unprecedented proportions. The very government he was advising held in its possession plans that could unleash unparalleled destruction. Driven by a growing sense of responsibility and a desire to prevent the unthinkable, Ellsberg embarked on a journey that would eventually lead him to become a pivotal figure in one of the most significant whistleblowing events in modern history. Ellsberg was deeply troubled by the existence of such a plan. In subsequent years, he attempted to expose the information about this catastrophic scenario to the public. Although his endeavor did not succeed, Ellsberg gained fame for his involvement in leaking what became known as the Pentagon Papers. These papers unveiled the concealed history of the United States military involvement in Vietnam. The ethos of America's morally indifferent military planning during the Cold War is reminiscent of the recklessness exhibited by another group of individuals who were willing to gamble with the destiny of humanity. Recent revelations have brought to light confidential documents that elucidate the awareness within the energy industry regarding the connection between their products and the phenomenon of global warming. However, unlike the government's concealed nuclear plans, the revelations from the energy industry were acted upon. In the 1980s, prominent oil companies like Exxon and Shell conducted internal evaluations of the carbon dioxide emissions resulting from fossil fuels. They also anticipated the potential global repercussions of these emissions. For instance, in 1982, Exxon made a projection that by approximately 2060, levels of CO2 would escalate to around 560 parts per million, twice the level of the pre-industrial era. Furthermore, they predicted that this increase would lead to a rise of about 2 degrees Celsius in the planet's average temperatures compared to the levels at that time, and even more in comparison to pre-industrial benchmarks. Before we continue our journey, subscribe now to Business Obscura and become a vital part of unraveling this enigma. In the subsequent years of that same decade, specifically in 1988, an internal report produced by Shell presented parallel projections. Notably, the report indicated that the increase in CO2 levels could potentially double even earlier, by the year 2030. Remarkably, these corporations did not openly challenge the correlation between their products, the phenomenon of global warming, and the ensuing ecological catastrophes. On the contrary, their confidential investigations substantiated these interconnections. Within Shell's assessment, it was anticipated that a rise in sea levels by approximately 1 meter could occur. Furthermore, the report acknowledged that the warming trend could contribute to the disintegration of the West Antarctic ice sheet, subsequently resulting in a global elevation in sea levels ranging from 5 to 6 meters. Such an increase in sea levels would be ample to submerge entire low-lying nations. Additionally, Shell's analysts highlighted the potential loss of specific ecosystems or habitat destruction. They forecasted an escalation in phenomena such as runoff, destructive floods, and inundation of low-lying farmland. The report also emphasized the necessity for new sources of fresh water to counterbalance shifts in precipitation patterns. The global alterations in air temperature were also predicted to fundamentally alter the way people live and work. In sum, Shell's evaluation concluded that the upcoming changes might potentially constitute some of the most significant transformations in documented history. Exxon, on its part, issued warnings about the potential occurrence of potentially catastrophic events that must be considered. Like the experts at Shell, Exxon scientists also forecasted alarming rises in sea levels and voiced concerns that regions such as the American Midwest, along with other parts of the world, might turn arid and desert-like. Ironically, the company expressed a somewhat optimistic perspective, suggesting that this environmental issue was comparatively less significant for humanity when compared to the looming threats of a nuclear holocaust or global famine. The contents of these documents are deeply unsettling. The impact becomes even more chilling when considering that these major oil corporations chose not to disclose the impending damage that their researchers had anticipated. Notably, Shell's confidential report was initially brought to light by a Dutch news organization earlier this year. Similarly, Exxon's internal study was not intended for public dissemination. It came to public attention through a leak in 2015. Furthermore, these corporations refrained from taking accountability for the repercussions of their products. In Shell's study, the company contended that the primary responsibility for addressing climate change lies not with the energy industry, but rather with governments and consumers. While this argument might have held some merit, the actions of oil executives, including those from Exxon and Shell, contradicted this claim. These executives later propagated falsehoods regarding climate change and actively obstructed governments from implementing clean energy policies. Although the intricacies of global warming remained unfamiliar to the majority during the 1980s, there were a select few who possessed a more comprehensive comprehension, notably the companies responsible for contributing significantly to this phenomenon. The question arises: who possesses the authority to envision such impending devastation and subsequently opt to bring those grim predictions to fruition? Well, that's all for today's video. If you found this video informative, please consider liking and subscribing to Business Obscura for more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to leave your comments and suggestions down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to unravel more business mysteries, check out our latest video on the left or a recommended video on the right.